conservative movement, but you have to give him credit that he just at least have the ball moving. Thank you so much for the super chat, Jagas.
And Jared Kushner's at the forefront of this. He brokers the deal with his connections to Israel and the Gulf. And Kushner makes a fortune when the sovereign wealth funds of the Gulf countries begin to pour their capital into Israel. And then what does this point towards? Really like a new model and like a new approach to peace in the Middle East. And fundamentally what changes is Trump circumvents the Israel-Palestine conflict. The old way of thinking about this is that in order for Israel to be integrated in the region, we got to solve Israel-Palestine, which is intractable. It's impossible. So until this impossible problem is solved, like we can't fix the Middle East. Trump says, forget it. Like let's just bribe these countries. Let's just give them what they want. And, they'll just kind of abandon the Palestinian cause, basically. That's the root of the problem. Now, the Abraham Accords point towards Saudi Arabia recognizing Israel, leaving the Palestinian question unresolved. And so under Trump, they start to work on this. And then under Biden, they really go to work. And Biden even goes to Saudi Arabia for other reasons. He wanted them to increase oil production, but Biden's really pushing for Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel and offering a defense guarantee, like a NATO-like security guarantee to Saudi Arabia, weapons packages. Like they're bribing Saudi Arabia to normalize relations with Israel. And if this happens, and this was almost on the way to completion in August of 2023, so this is 2 months before October 7th, and the Palestinians see what's happening. And what is happening is they're being boxed out. They're no longer going to have a seat at the table. Whereas before, all the Muslim countries were sort of ideologically rallied to the side of the Palestinian cause and holding up.
Paranoia agent saying Israel owns both sides. I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean owns both sides? Like own Palestine and Israel, but then they're just, I don't know what you have to tell me.
Israel's
I don't know what you mean
integration in the region, as long as Israel is occupying the territories, now these countries are sort of selling out the Palestinians and saying, you know what, fuck the Palestinians. We want to invest in Israel. We want the bribes that America's going to give us. Because America's really going to come through for us. They're going to protect us. They're going to give us weapons. Then we get to work with Israel, and we're really going to be stable and safe and have prosperity, and our problems are going to go away. So the Palestinians are being treated sort of.
All right, Jackass Whiskey with another $5 super chat. Is Trump's raising the trees? The tree, that's how you say that? It's dealing making. He likes the nitty gritty of deals. Yeah, he likes that. He thrives on that. He's the perfect guy that we need for this. Democrats and Republican, yeah, we're not talking about that right now, man. The only thing they both agree is in submitting to Israel. Yeah, we're not talking about that right now. You have to keep it on topic. Yeah, Jackass, I think you have a great point on that. That's where Trump really thrives. He thrives in those very hard deals, and he's going to make it happen. And sometimes people don't understand this, but deals, when you're not getting what you want, you have to pull back. You have to pull back, and you have to just simply just walk out of the deal to make sure that deal can have a better outcome. I think that's the case of even Russia and Ukraine, and even a little bit of Israel. Yet Trump's deals have all failed. That's not true. Trump's deals have not all the deals have failed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Like an inconvenience and an afterthought. Now, if all of these Arab countries abandon.
No, he's talking about the Abraham Accord and how they're leaving Palestinian out of the equation, while the other Arab countries in Israel are trying to just make some deals without Palestine. Yeah, come on, let's have a deeper conversation.
Palestine becomes basically a problem for Israel only. And Israel can really handle it however they want. They don't have to worry about alienating anybody. They got them. So Israel can continue the settlements in the West Bank. Israel can continue the status quo in Gaza. And they're going to get Saudi Arabia and the Emirates and Bahrain and eventually every Syria, Lebanon. They're going to get all these countries normalizing, investing in Israel. And then it's up to them what they do to Palestine. And they're going to crush Palestine. So Hamas attacks Israel on October 7th to throw a wrench in the process. How? They go and commit these atrocities. They take hostages. They force Israel to come in really strong. And as long as Israel is brutally bombing Gaza, Saudi Arabia cannot make the deal because the people would revolt. These other governments cannot make the deal because the people would revolt. The Hamas effectively forces everybody back onto their side, forces them to take their side if they open up a direct conflict with Israel, if they create this confrontation. That was really the playbook. And so, in any case, that's the root cause of the conflict from...
The trade deal with China collapsed. The 90 days trade deal failed. The deal with Taliban failed, etc. Yeah, but not all of them. And you have to give this time. Remember, politics is not only something about 90 days. You have to give this thing time. And think about our system of government, right? Our three branches of government. How slow it is, right? So if that way that is slow, that's only a national process. Imagine international. It's gonna be slower. You have to give this thing time. It's like moving 1 inch at a time.
Like Hamas's point of view. Now, if Israel is going to maintain security control over the Strip, if there's no commitment for there to be a Palestinian state, if the war ends without those commitments, and then Israel makes peace with Saudi Arabia, and then Syria, Lebanon, Indonesia, Pakistan, and this is what's being discussed. On the heels of this peace conference, if you paid attention, Trump said, I think the Abraham Accords are going to go very quickly. And what are these other developments? Assad has been expelled from Syria, and someone tried to poison him in Russia. And what has come to power in Syria is a pro-Western government run by Ahmed al-Shara. He's kicked out the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and now he wants to make a deal with Israel and normalize. In Lebanon, the Lebanese government has voted to disarm Hezbollah, says there can be no paramilitary organization armed to the teeth on our soil, and the U.S. and Israel say we will implement this after Israel neutralized Hezbollah in October of last year. They're saying we're going to complete the job, disarm them, and all that will be left is this like Lebanese rump state that Israel will dominate and effectively annex South Lebanon, south of the Litani River. They'll effectively annex southern Syria where the Druze live, the Purple Zone, all of it. The Golan is just gone. So you're going to have Syria come in on the side of Israel, Lebanon come in on the side of Israel, then probably Saudi Arabia, then maybe Pakistan and Indonesia. Now it's even worse. So in 23, you had Bahrain, the Emirates, Sudan, and Morocco. Maybe Saudi Arabia. Now you got all them, plus Syria, plus Lebanon, plus Pakistan, plus Indonesia due to recent events, and the Palestinians will not have their state. In the 20-point plan, there's no commitment for a Palestinian state. It's by definition neocolonialism. And, I know that's a word used by third worldists, but it's what it is.
Well, it is what it is. It is what it is at this point. I'm sorry. I'm being truthful. It is what it is at this point. It seems like the two-state solution hasn't worked, right? If they want to, personally, I think I would just let them just have it. Like, just get Palestine and Israel, just, let them exchange some punches. But it seemed like the Palestinian situation, it needed to just end up like that. I don't care if it's neocolonialism. It seems like it needed to just end up like that. Because at the same thing, let's say you protect Gaza and you could Palestine, which their life, right? Their life matter. Don't get me wrong. However, when you're even trying to help them, you're trying to just immigrate them to the Western world, they just start acting fool. I'm just gonna be completely honest. They start acting fool. They're not good people as well. At that point, you have to be logical with this, right? You cannot simply just go with Gaza's favor because you don't like Israel. That, for me, that really doesn't make sense. Does not make sense.
They say that Gaza will be run by a technocratic committee under basically a trust, which is owned by Trump and Tony Blair. And Israel will train up the security force. They're going to keep the Palestinian Authority out. Like, it's literally, this territory is going to be annexed effectively by America and Israel. And so here's the point.
Do you want it that? Do you want them to just keep being deleted, man? We cannot just afford them to be deleted either. So it has to be that, or just let the war continue.
Is Hamas going to now just give up their weapons and say, oh, well, we...
What's wrong with peace? Jackass Whiskey with another super chat. What's wrong with peace? Exactly. I don't think he wants the peace. So the peace, I'm all for the peace. But at the same time, when these countries like Gaza, Hamas started all this. So what are we supposed to do here? So Hamas started. So Israel should not defend themselves. So they should allow Hamas to just continue with the attack. Israel goes back in attack. It's like, I don't know, man. Palestinians don't want to leave Palestine. Israel who wants to send them to Europe. But don't want to leave Palestine. It's Israel who wants to send them to Europe. That's a good point too.
Tried it.
And also, why not? We have to negotiate them to send them to another country then. Hamas defended themselves. I guess when you're in the middle of war, yeah, you can say that.
So we're laying down our arms.
That's all you have. But they started it too.
And Israel and America are going to take over the Strip, and that's the end of Palestine. I find that very hard to believe. And that's why I think that this is a very tenuous peace plan, because I think that Trump says they committed to give up their arms. Like I said, there's been some surprises already. Maybe that's true. But that would fly in the face of both sides. Israel will never accept a Palestinian state on their border. So I don't see them settling for anything less than ethnic cleansing. And at the minimum, a denial of a Palestinian entity. And I don't see Hamas laying down their arms if there's no commitment to a Palestinian state, if there's no guarantee. And there isn't one. So all that would mean is that there's a mutual agreement on both sides.
Okay, even if you say that Hamas defended himself, even if you say that, are you okay with Hamas, the way Hamas is dealing with his own people? That he's literally just deleting some of his folks right there in the middle of the street just to create terror. I mean, I'm not here to get one side or the other, but I can recognize a horror. Like, you don't have to like Israel, I understand. But don't pretend that what Hamas is doing is okay as well. These people are just something else. Like, what Hamas is doing in plain view is not okay either.
We're going to just defer
even
the
if you don't agree with Israel.
Hamas is just getting destroyed. Israel's bulldozing all the cities. And Israel is, their ground forces are reservists and they're tired. And they want to fight Iran for a little bit. So, the question is whether this is a breather for both sides or whether it's a definitive end. Now Trump is saying, well, look, Hamas said they're going to do it, but if they don't, I'm going to disarm them.
You have to. You have to show force. The only way you can just secure some of these treaty is with force. And we already know this from World War I and World War II. When Germany wanted to just take Poland, even though there's a treaty in place, nobody followed through with force. We end up in World War II. These treaties, you need to have some kind of force behind it. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper.
And like I said, that's the part that I don't like. Maybe it's an idle threat. He makes a lot of those maximalist demands and threats that he really never follows through on. But look, you give Israel an inch, they take a mile. He said, we're going to make sure that Iran doesn't have nukes. And Israel said, okay, bet. We'll bomb.
Jackass Whiskey with Super Chat said, Hamas will have no arms. It takes money. Yeah, exactly. It takes money. Correct. It takes money. You have to disarm Hamas. You want to secure some of this peace, you have to just disarm them. Right? And you need to have some kind of enforcement. Even if Israel break the deal or the agreement, there has to be some kind of enforcement behind that treaty. Otherwise, it's just a plain paper with no value behind it.
Them. Oh, we're in trouble. Now you have to help us. So if Trump says, well, if they don't disarm, we're going to violently do it for them. Okay, so what do you think Netanyahu's next move is? Sabotage the peace deal, make Trump look like an asshole. Think about second, third order consequences. If the peace deal falls through, Trump looks like an absolute idiot. If the peace deal doesn't work for any reason, Trump is utterly humiliated. Think about the speech he gives at the Knesset. He flies to Egypt, peace 2025. Surely he wins the Nobel Prize. His triumph, Time magazine.
And that's crazy. He said that he's crazy. Because I know a lot of people from Israel, they're not fond of the Western, a lot of countries in Europe. Yeah, I know that's for sure. But if he said that, that's kind of messed up. And this is the problem. And I understand why some countries don't like Israel for that same sentiment. But then the Western world and our leaders have to be they have to be stronger with that message that we're not. Now, there are Palestinians, and some of these other Arab countries should take some of these Palestinians because they're more congruent with their own society. But again, these societies tend to be very tribal, which just bring another problem because they just basically they only hold how they kind of collective culture of some of these tribes, and when it comes down to these collective societies, it's very hard to just integrate them, even though they're almost practicing the same thing. It's crazy.
So if this thing falls through in weeks, months, he just looks like an idiot. And he'll do what it takes to follow through on the deal. And if Hamas is the one that isn't, disarming according to the agreement, do you think that he would stop Israel from disarming them, going back in and renewing the conflict? Or do you think that even he would have reservations about intervening? I mean, I don't like now that we're verbally committed to that. So, already, and I don't want to say that, who knows? Maybe it works. Maybe it works. Maybe Trump knows something that we don't, and it's a good deal. Maybe things have changed. We don't know that. But it seems like the cracks are starting to show already. And for Trump to even have to say that, it's like, okay, so do we have a deal or not? Because if they agreed to disarm, then it's like, wow, you beat them. You beat them. They're giving up. They're done. Trump solved it. But if it's even a question and Trump says, well, I don't know when they're going to disarm, and I don't know if they meant it when they said they would, but if they're not serious, then we're going to kill them. It's like, okay, so is there a deal or not? And if you've been following this war for the past 2 years, it's deja vu all over again. Oh, we have a deal, but no one really agrees on what's going to happen after the 6-week ceasefire, right? No one actually knows what the day after will look like in Gaza. Well, that's kind of the whole point of the war, isn't it? What the day after will be. Israel wants to kill Hamas. Hamas wants not to be killed. So unless Hamas has agreed to commit suicide, it seems like the war will go on until Israel kills them, or America does it for them. So I didn't like.
Oh, Hamas start killing people too. Hey, why? Yeah, you have to. Why is Nick not bringing that side of the equation? Hamas can delete people too. Hamas have been trying to delete the Israelis as well. We cannot just leave that part out of the equation. I'm very,
to me, that throws a lot of cold water on the whole thing. If that sounds worse than what we had before. It's like before it was atrocious and it was horrible, but Israel was doing it and we were paying for it. Mm-hmm. Now is the prospect that for us to have peace, we have to go and bomb Hamas? How is that better? That seems worse, actually. It seems like worse than before the deal. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll watch, as they implement it. But we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at our super chats.
Very good. We're going to leave it there for the Nick Fuentes. We're going to just react to also the part 2 of Steven Crowder. He did the part 2 with the hood. Again, just to end this topic when it comes down to Israel and Palestine, I don't care. I mean, this is something that has been gone for quite a while. I'm all about American first, and America seems like it's much better leaving Israel in that region. I'm not agreeing with the majority of the things that they have done so far in that region, meaning when there's a ceasefire, there's no need to just